The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to She Is Shenomenal. I am Tasha Champion, the Shenomenal Coach of Champion Empowerment. Always teaching you to love the champion you are. And today on my show, I have two incredible, beautiful women. They have a podcast called You Better Than Me. So I'm going to be chatting with Kristen and Fallon, and we are just going to have a good time. We're going to find out the magic behind how they came up with the name, because y'all know we are so quick when something happens, we like, ooh, you better than me. So I want to know, how did they come up with this title? How did they connect, and what made them decide to do a podcast? And then, of course, we're going to have some wonderful girl chat. We're going to talk about being Black women. We're going to talk about our self-care, you know, how important that is. We're just going to have a nice, fun time today. But before we get into it, so you guys know this is October, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I am a 6-year breast cancer survivor. So what am I going to do? I'm going to push and push and push and tell you guys to go and get your mammograms. It is so important. I don't just talk about this during October. I talk about it all the time. So you need to get your mammograms, and right there on the screen, smash your boobs. The Mammo Challenge is officially back. So go to themammochallenge.com and register. I do a huge, beautiful, wonderful grand prize that we will announce in July of 2023 at the 3rd annual Shenomenal Women's Brunch. But please, more important than anything, it's time to smash your boobs. And don't forget to call a friend to tell them to smash theirs too. Now, I'm really happy. So you guys know, like, I'm always in pink during the month of October. And what's so cool about this month, I'm really happy, y'all, because you can't fully see it, but this is my NFL Crucial Catch shirt for the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, I am a Broncos fan. I had the honor of being at the game and going on the field in 2018. And I'm so happy because I go back on Monday, my first Monday night game. I'm going to be live at the game. I get to go on the field, and they are playing the Broncos. So you guys know my heart is full. I know, listen, for all my Raider fans, yeah, they're not doing that well. I don't care about y'all. It's still my Broncos, and I'm so happy to see them live and in person. And I just want to give a shout out to the LA Chargers, to the NFL for honoring survivors. I know it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but there will be other survivors there as well. So that's all I got for y'all today. Just making sure that you guys smash those boobs. It is so important. Shout out to just survivors everywhere. Shout out to family members whose family have transitioned because of breast cancer. So much love and support to all of you. Now, We're going to take a quick break because when we come back, it's time to get into our show. A lot to talk about. I love talking to beautiful, intelligent ladies that just have a lot to offer. They want to pour into people, they want to pour into you today. So, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to be back with the host of You Better Than Me. We'll be back. All right, we are back, and I want to go ahead and welcome in Fallon and Kristen, host of You Better Than Me podcast. Hey, ladies.
Hey, how are you?
I am good. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on She Is Shenomenal. I appreciate you guys being guests today, and I am really excited. Hey, Johnny. Oh, did he just call my Broncos Donkos? We're not going to go there. We're gonna talk to the podcast host. We're not going to have a football argument today. But I'm really excited to have you guys. I was always like from the start. I love the name You Better Than Me. So first, before we even get into how you guys came up to that name, I want you guys to introduce yourselves and what you guys do. So we'll start with you.
I did not hear you. I'm sorry. Did you want to start with me, Tasha?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. I am Kristen. I'm sorry. It was like a little disconnect. I'm Kristen. I am half of the You Better Than Me podcast. I reside in the Washington, D.C. area. And I do a lot of things. I sing from time to time. I do a little bit of writing. I'm a pet mom. I am, a girl that knows a little bit about a little bit. So, yeah, I'm very resourceful. I always feel like when people ask you to talk about yourself, it's like, oh my gosh, I know nothing about me. So that's kind of how I feel in this moment. So I'll pass it to Fallon.
Okay, go ahead, Fallon.
Pass the buck to me. Hey, everybody. My name is Fallon Hamilton, and I am joining us straight from Houston, Texas. I am an attorney by day, a writer, and half of You Better Than Me, the podcast. Um, Prepping for a wedding and just trying to stay sane up in this crazy world that we're living in right now. And I am excited and happy to be here.
Well, first off, congratulations on the upcoming wedding. That is huge. That is beautiful. So congratulations. Shout out to Black Love. All right. So y'all know I'm ready to just really dive right in. How did you guys come together and how did you land on the title You Better Than Me? And then tell me about it. Like, is it more like You Better Than Me, or really what does it mean?
Ooh, just how you think it means. So just the background on how we met each other. Kristen and I were good, perfect strangers because we did not know each other. We did not live in the same city. We forged a friendship literally online. And just as time progressed, it was like, dang, I would have been her friend in real life. Like, I like her. I really like her. Like, we have so much in common. And it just so happens that, I was celebrating my 40th birthday. And she came all the way from DC to come celebrate with me. And it was like, okay, she's a real person. She's not crazy. Like, I like her. Like, she's my friend. Kwame had already kind of put the bug in our ear, like, I want y'all to do something. Like, y'all have so much chemistry. Y'all just make me laugh. Like, we need to get something together. So, like, the week after my birthday, I actually ended up going to DC to visit her. And she didn't Jeffrey Dahmer me, thank God. She was a real person. So, the virtual friendship still works.
I like pork.
Right. So we were just sitting on her couch, kind of just brainstorming, like, what is something that we always say to our girlfriends or that we always say to our homegirls? It's like we're giving each other advice or something. It's like, girl, you better than me. Like, I'm not gonna tell you wrong, but I'm gonna hit you with the you better than me. And that just kind of stuck. And Kristen, feel free to fill in any gaps in the story. I feel like I gave the real abbreviated version, but it was like it really was like that.
No, it really was like that, but I do feel like the you better than me. It's kind of like, it's almost like shining a little bit, but not really. It's kind of like, well, I wouldn't do it, but you can do it. It doesn't mean that you're bad if you do it, but it's just not for me, girl. You better than me. I think we all say it and we all have our different meanings behind it. And I think on this podcast, it's like we're saying it, but then we're also giving you alternatives, like what you can do and what you can learn from the experience if you happen to be better than me and actually go do that thing that I probably wouldn't do.
I love it because that's our thing. You better than me, girl. But I like the fact that you're letting people know it's not about the fact that you're wrong. You're just saying I wouldn't do it,
Right.
and that's okay. What you choose for yourself is okay. What are some of the topics that you guys have on your podcast?
Ooh, I feel like we have talked about everything. Like season 1 was just full of this, like, I won't even say like gossip with your best girlfriend. Like it was like the listening in on when like the ladies you admire, or like your aunties, or like the people who are sitting around when you're a little girl and you want to listen to their conversation, but you just can't join in. So you have to just kind of listen with the listening ear. I feel like that was kind of like the scene we set, and it went from everything from relationships to self-care to setting boundaries and
frenemies, dating people with multiple kids.
Dating, yes.
Are you drawing from your own experience to create the topics and conversations?
Absolutely.
So, yes, we definitely are. We do ask like our friends and family members, like, you got a topic that you think we should discuss? And sometimes we won't, we'll table it and then we may come back to it, but it's really, really personal. I think I bear a lot on the podcast. Over time, I'm telling a little bit more. And if you are like in my real circle of friends, then you probably know one of these stories, but I kind of like put it all out there because I do feel like I didn't grow up with an older sister. So for people that don't have older sisters, older cousins, like we can be that to you. I know Fallon always says aunties, but I try to say like sister cousin or something like that. So we're that for you, if you need someone to speak to, or just pretty much letting people know that we've had the experience too. And there may have been a person that have said like, girl, you better than me, but we still ended up doing what we felt was right for us at that moment. And that's not wrong because you can always reinvent yourself and level up.
I love that. What has been like your favorite episode or topic so far? And I say so far because there's so much more to come. So what has been your favorite topic or subject like so far that you guys got to talk about?
I feel like we've had so much fun with just season 1, and season 2 dropped today. Shameless plug, season 2 dropped today. And I'm not gonna front, I listened to the first episode of this second season, and I think that may be in the top running for me because we really have found our flow. We're more comfortable, and the conversation just seemed to be so just on time and like realistic. So I'm kind of feeling this welcome back with season 2. I don't know about you, Kristen, but I'm feeling that.
So it's funny that you say that because I have not listened to season 2, episode 1, but I was going to say that was my answer before you said that was your answer, just because when we came back to recording, I felt like that first episode was just kind of like everything. Like Fallon and I, we go back and forth when it's, time for us to record. We're like, oh, girl, I'm so tired. Work killed me. She's planning the wedding. I'm in the streets. I'm doing, events after events. So we're like, oh, you want to record today? And as soon as we hit the button to record, it's just like everything that needs to be said is actually said. So I felt like that was my my favorite episode, just because after going through one whole season and coming to this second season, and the season is speaking about wins, it really lets you know that life is truly about seasons. Like, you can be in a season where you are just down in the gutter, and then you come into that next season and it's like, oh my gosh, like, this is how life is supposed to be. Like, I needed that time because now I can truly appreciate this time. And that's kind of what it felt like for me.
Right.
Yes,
So
like,
you guys give us a little bit of what was in season 2, episode 1. Like, what can we look forward to? Because both of you are saying it's your favorite. So I'm like, well, I don't want to be left out.
So I think
A
what we
little
can look
bit.
forward to, if you have not watched, but we want you to watch, is definitely like big upping yourself. Like, you just spoke, Tasha, about celebrating 6 years, I believe, being breast cancer free. That is not a small feat. And I think so many times as Black women, we don't take that time to pat our own selves on the back. We don't take that time to go buy a bottle of champagne and just celebrate, even if it's a small thing. Like, even this is really, really small. I remember when I was able to put 4 brand new tires on my car. 4 brand new tires, not no used ones, not
Right.
nothing like that. 4 brand new car tires. Like, that was a big deal. Like, that deserved like
Yes.
something. I should have got a glass of wine because that was a struggle. But I feel like we don't take those moments because of whatever. It could be society, it could be because your best friend isn't doing as well as you're doing, and we won't just celebrate us. So that's why it was so important for us to kick off season 2, speaking about the wins and speaking about being in a different season.
Yeah.
yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Fallon.
I was just going to piggyback off of that and say that just the positive self-talk and speaking life into yourself and like acknowledging how far you've come. Anytime you've had like those valley moments or just moments where you've not been able to say, dang, life is really going good, to get to that other side and like actually see it, like it feels like God keeps blessing you when you can like sit down and like acknowledge the blessings that he's giving you. So that's kind of like what we are on with this episode. And it's like even the small things, like even things that may seem small to you, but might give motivation to somebody else who may have been going through a similar struggle or had a different, perspective about something you may have done and you came through it. Like,
Right.
I just feel like excited for everybody to kind of listen in and just know the changes that we've been through and like really be able to celebrate us and with each other.
Of course, absolutely. Now, when we talk about, like I heard you say, Christian, earlier, oh, when somebody asks you like to describe yourself or to introduce yourself, it's almost like you clam up or you don't know what to say. And I feel like we've been taught so much, oh, don't brag on yourself, don't talk about yourself. And it's like we give all this energy to other people. And then when it comes to us, it's like we want to put our hat on and cover our faces. And I feel like we're in a time where we need to celebrate our accomplishments. We need to be able to proudly say who we are and what we do and what we are about, and not feel that we are stepping on someone else's toes or feel like we are minimizing somebody else's growth and potential. So, in saying that, what would you say, Kristen, is something so incredible about you?
Something that is so incredible about me is that I have the ability to speak to anyone on any level and make them feel comfortable within the environment that we're in. And I like that about myself. I like that, I don't really hold a lot of judgments against people. And I like that I like the fact that I like to meet people where they are.
Beautiful. Fallon, same question. What is something that is like so incredible about you? Because I want people to get comfortable bragging on themselves. So, what
Yes.
is something so incredible about you?
I feel like I have a way with words. I feel like I can loop together sentences that flow like rivers, and like I just have a knack for like poetry and like making things sound so just realistic. I love that I can like paint pictures with words. Like, words are my power, and just the ability to use them to create my magic, I feel like is the most wonderful thing about me.
That is awesome. Now, one of the episodes I was listening to was Black womanhood. Like when I went through the list of you better than me, like Black womanhood was the first thing that I was drawn to. because, as you guys know, as Black women, we are forced to put ourselves on the pedestal. We're forced to pull each other up on the pedestal, but that doesn't quite always happen. Whether it's women with women, whether it's our Black men, we don't always feel like we're being put on that pedestal. And you guys were talking about just Black women being in womanhood. And I love that you guys are talking about hair. Who was it that the father did not know or was like against the
Fallon.
perm? Okay.
Yes.
I was like, oh, Daddy was like, no, we're not playing with that. And that's at a time where perms were popular and he wasn't into it. Yeah. So talk about that for a minute. Like, let's dive into Black womanhood. What is a strength that you want people to see in us, but not necessarily keep saying, oh, but you're so strong, you're so strong, you're so strong. Like, I get so tired of that phrase anyway, but what's a strength you just want people to naturally see in Black women unapologetically?
I would say pizzazz, just like the ability to ooze just brown sugar and wonderfulness, and like just the charisma and the just energetically Blackness that just comes out of us. Like any Black woman can go into a room and literally just change the whole temperature of the room with our emotions or our smile or how we walk or just how we even look at stuff. I just think that we have that special ability to just control the narrative with just our actions, our being, our essence.
I love it. Kristen, what about you?
I feel like my answer is so much similar because I was going to say style, but not in the way that we dress. Just, I feel like anytime when you see people doing something is pretty much off the backs of a Black woman. That can be an entertainer making fun. And I'm not saying that, in a positive way, but even in a positive way, who is a Black woman, that can be styles. I mean, you go outside and you see something, big earrings, like who started this? Black women. I just feel like, everybody wants to this sounds so bad, but I feel like everybody just
It's not
wants to
bad.
be the Black woman. And, some people do it in a positive manner, some people do it in a negative manner. But I mean, our style is just everything. Like, there are a lot of people that really look at it and they say, I wish I could have that. And it's not always, the strength. It's just, I think it's just the knowing that you just are who you are and you just, accept that about yourself. And I think that's one thing that as Black women, like that internal acceptance that we don't always have is still deep in us, and it just comes out at the right time. And I think that's what other people really want.
Yeah, I feel like we have something that's so magical and so soothing and so peaceful and so celebrated, and yet we are the race of women that gets minimized the
Right.
most.
Yeah, you're so right.
We can wear our hair in the most styles. We come in all different shapes, sizes, heights, curvy, all of this. And I feel like yet we still get minimized while everybody else, like you said, is capitalizing on the very things that we naturally have. And I'm like, how can we, put Black woman energy in a jar and I ain't trying to sell it, but
Right. I was about to say, I don't want to sell it though.
Don't give them no ideas. Lord, don't give them no ideas.
But when we think about like how much we tend to take on, and a lot of it has come from the years of slavery. We took care of those outside the home. We took care of those inside the home. We took care of the master. We took care of his wife and his children while still taking care of our children. Like we had this. And so whether women of today, especially the younger generation, realize that we're still carrying that same behavior, that we have to carry it all, we have to do it all, and we need to do it with a smile on our face. How do we honor our ancestors and what they did and what they created and what they brought forth while still being able to like not feel like we have to take on the weight of the world on our shoulders? So how can we honor them but still respect where we are today and not feel like we have to be who they were?
Rest, sit down,
I was just spelling, get out my head. I was literally about to say rest. Because
live a
every time
soft
I talk to
life.
my grandma, she like, you laying down. I'm like, I'm resting for you because you didn't get to
Yes.
rest. So I'm resting for you. So
Mhm.
you should be happy that I get to rest. And that's what I'm gonna
Yes.
do.
Put
Okay,
some red lipstick
define
on
rest.
if you want to.
I,
Exhaling freely.
being still, not
Mm.
thinking.
Yes, and the reason why I asked you guys to define it is because so many people have the misconception that rest is sleep, and those are
Mm-mm.
totally two different things. So let me ask you, when you say both of you initially like it was rest, that was the first thing. Do you intentionally rest on a consistent basis, or do you find that you'll be going and going and going and then realizing, uh-oh, my body is about to make me rest? Like, do you put rest on your calendar? How do you implement that rest into your life?
I try to take what my body needs. So I know a couple of weeks ago, I didn't feel well. And I was like, my body needs to lay down in the bed. And that's exactly what I did. And I really wasn't asleep. I was awake. It's also finding rest in just days. Like I think yesterday was like a national, everybody have those made up days, but like a national Black woman's maybe not rest, but it was something where you call out of work to do something. I'm like, man, I missed it. But then I was thinking, I do this all the time for myself. Like, I'm gonna get my rest, and I feel like it's part of my reparation package. Like, these are certain things that I'm just gonna get. Rest is gonna be one of them. I'm sorry, when I come to the job, I work hard, but I got to get the rest. So, I don't want to say that it's 100% planned out. Now, at my last job, it was planned out because there were just some days when I'm like, I owe myself this day. I deserve this day, and I'm not gonna do any work. And even if I don't do anything, I'm just gonna lay around. I'm gonna watch some TV, and this is just gonna be my rest.
Now, Fallon, with you, you are an attorney. You're also planning a wedding. So how are you finding those pockets where you're like, I gotta rest?
Well, honestly, September got the best of me, and my body chose to sit me down. So I had no choice but to kind of bask in my ownness. But typically, I try to like schedule some time to read, or some time to just cuddle, or some time to go get a massage, or like pedicures. I have to like be cognizant of when I'm neglecting myself, or when I feel like not my best version of myself. I know it's time to like sit down. Like I'm bougie. I like to go get my hair done every week. Like I have moments where I do have scheduled, like I know this is the time I'm gonna pour into myself, but rest doesn't necessarily have to mean sleep, like Kristen said, but it could just mean like moments of stillness or moments of peace, or just, to me, rest is like reading a book leisurely that has nothing to do with like work, or
Right.
just laying on the floor on a pallet chilling with my fiance, just chilling, like with no agenda. We don't have anywhere to go, like we don't have anywhere to be, just making sure that my schedule is empty, nothing pressing, and just really enjoying time together. Or even just playing with my dog. Like when Pepper not
Right.
amped up, yeah, when Pepper ain't amped up, he's asleep right now, fortunately. But just like rubbing on him, or just like throwing the ball with him, can be restful to me. Like it's not anything that's like pressing my brain. I'm not thinking too hard. I'm not doing anything that's causing any worry or stress. It's just
Right.
genuinely enjoying the moment.
Got it. Got it. I love it. Okay. So we talked about like how we can honor our ancestors, but also not continue to put the weight of the world on our shoulders as we are expected to. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I want you guys to think about this during the break. What is it that our ancestors have taught us that we need to make sure that we are mindful of with today, as the woman you are, as the younger women that are coming up in that generation? What do we need to take from our ancestors to keep going forward today? So that's the question that I have for you guys. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of the host of You Better Than Me podcast. right. We are back chatting with the host of the podcast, You Better Than Me. And before we went to break, my question was, what can we learn from our ancestors to move us through, like being a woman today and the younger generation coming up? So whoever wants to start first, what is it that we can take from our ancestors and bring into today?
For
I
me,
text
it's
Fallon not to take my answer. So I hope that whatever because she
are
didn't see
you
my
gonna
text.
try to say it
So
before
maybe
me?
you need to go first, Kristen.
No, I'm gonna let Fallon go first, and then I have to say, I was gonna say it too.
So for me, I just all the old wives' tales, all the home remedies, all the Vic salves on your chest, and all the cinnamon brooms and all the boiling cinnamon. Every old school Louisiana backwoods hoodoo woman saying and doing that has been passed through generations through the people in my family who are no longer here. But I still will go rub the bottom of my feet with some sass, like all those things that they brought with them through the generations. Like I always want to keep that alive. I don't care how much technology we get. I always want to have my little sayings. I always want to have my little euphemisms. I always just want those things that were ingrained in my grandmother's grandmother's grandmother and that made them who they were. Like I just want that to stay a part of me and pass it on to everybody, even if people look at me crazy, like, girl, what are you talking about? But yeah, those things forever for me.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Kristen, okay, so hopefully she didn't take your answer.
She
So
didn't
what
take
is
my
it for
answer.
you? Okay.
So my answer actually has like a little bit of a negative connotation because we were just speaking about rest, but I will say that it's still important for me to have the resiliency of our ancestors because I feel like I know that we carry so much, but I feel like we have to start balancing that out. But we still need to be resilient because, as we mentioned earlier, like every which way life comes to knock us down, and we still have to build ourselves up. You know, we have to build our kids up if we have kids. Sometimes we have to build our friends up and our husbands and
Mhm.
spouses and whomever. But I do feel like we were the ones still doing building up, back in the day. And I feel like we still need that, but we just need to balance it out with a little bit more rest and relaxation.
Do in using the word building up, using those words. Because you were just saying we build up our children, we build up our spouses, like we're doing all of this. Do we still have the village to build one another up?
I would say we do. I feel like Fallon and we build each other up all
Yeah.
the time. Just a couple of weeks ago, I'm not getting into the whole situation, but Fallon had a situation. She called me, girl, listen, okay, you may not be feeling like this in this moment, but I'm feeling like this because I'm on the outside looking in. This is,
Mhm.
let me affirm you. Let me build you up. Don't look at what you looked at before. Let's do something else. These are all the good things about you. This is why you're in your winning season presently. And Fallon has done the same thing for me, time after time. So I do feel like it's important to have your tribe of people that you can really count on that can actually build you up when you're not feeling your best. I feel like that whole sisterhood is not dead. I'm a love and hip hop person. I'm one of those people that watches all of the reality shows, and I get it. It's reality TV, so there is a level of fakeness to it. But I feel like when we come back into the real world, I have people that totally have my best interests at heart. They want to see me win, and I want to see the same thing for them.
Same.
She's like saying, you know,
Same.
that's it. That's we just spoke a whole word. And I asked that because actually before I say that, let me go back a little bit because we talk about building each other up as friends, as Black women. And I know that you guys also have your other circles and your other friends. How do you have seemingly hard conversations with your girlfriends?
I just had to have one the other day, and it was I was so stressed. And I feel like the thing is if you are coming from a good place, there's no malice, there's no ill intent. Sometimes you just have to say it. Sometimes, and not sometimes, oftentimes people don't grow at the same rate. So I may be in a different area on one situation. It might be one situation, whereas you might be in a different area on 12,000 other situations. And I think that you just got to say it because sometimes people don't know. And so it was really stressing me out, the conversation I had to have, because I didn't want this person to feel like I was being a bad friend, but I just feel like, hey, in this moment, I got to choose me. But in choosing me, I hope that you can see that what I'm choosing, you can take the situation and then you can apply it to yourself, and you can choose yourself, and you can see where I'm coming from once you get out of the situation that you're actually in. So you got to do it with love, but I think you just have to kind of rip that Band-Aid off a little bit. Because the thing about it is, if we're going to say that we can build each other up, we should also be able to say we can hold each other accountable, right?
Mm-hmm. That part. It's that accountability. Fallon, what about you? How do you have hard conversations with your close girlfriends?
So for me, I've had to kind of check myself because sometimes I say exactly what I feel or what's on my mind, and it's not necessarily the nicest or the most tactful. And sometimes your girl cusses like a sailor, and I'm very straightforward, and that has been mistaken as being mean or too harsh or something. So I have to kind of like remind myself that everybody doesn't digest information the same that I do. So where I want people to just tell me the fast and dirty of what's going on, I don't want the BS, just black and white, tell me what it is, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people in my tribe, I have to kind of talk around it or use like more loving words to be more affirming or be more sensitive. And it's been times where I've had to like actually go back and apologize, but like having the grace with your friends and like being able to understand that, hey, if I'm telling you something, then I'm not coming from like a bad place, or like it's never going to be any hate. It's never going to be any ill intention if I'm trying to do something for you or lead you in the right direction. So just being open and honest, making every conversation, all the group chats are considered like safe spaces, knowing when somebody wants to vent versus when somebody wants actual advice. And I had to check myself on that one too, because it's like I'm so solution driven. Like I
Right.
get you saying this, so do this, do this, do this. And sometimes people don't want to hear solutions, and they don't want to hear what you would do. They just want to get it off their chest. So like giving people that leeway to just kind of vent, and knowing the difference between when they want your opinion or when you want them to tell them, girl, you better than me, or when they want you to just receive what they have to say and like be there and receive it with love or like with understanding without judgment. So it's a balance, but I feel like we all work on kind of making our friendships reciprocal so that we know how to communicate things the right way and the wrong way with each other. We know which buttons push each other. And just knowing your girlfriends and being respectful and giving each other grace and holding space for each other when we're busy or when something may not look like you want it to look, or they're doing something that you may not do, but still give them the space to learn and like make that mistake and learn from it on their own.
So with that, so two things, because Kwame literally asked my next question before I go into that. One thing that I've learned, especially because I am an empowerment coach and I'm an intuitive healer. So I like see energy on people. I can, a lot of times I've had to learn how not to just tell someone something because it can be scary. Somebody just telling you something.
Mhm.
You're like, how the hell did you know that? What I've learned is if someone is calling me to talk, I need to ask, do you want feedback?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have the ability to just, like you said, when you're solution driven,
Right.
and because I want you to feel better, I'm
Mhm.
jumping 10 miles ahead because now I want to give you every step because I need you to feel better right now. And
Mhm.
that doesn't always work. So I've had to learn how to ask, would you like feedback? Because sometimes people may just need to talk,
Mhm.
Now, going back to Kwame's question, which was my next question, is what do you do? Well, I'll just read it. How do you handle a friend that doesn't hold themselves accountable for their contributions to an issue?
Mhm. That's a
See,
hard.
one thing when everything's all positive and you just, like,
Right.
okay, well, let's sit down, let's have a talk. But what happens when you have someone that's not taking responsibility? Is it because they don't see their side? Is it because they don't want to admit their fault in it? And some people are just flat out in denial. It's like, nothing is my fault. Everything is on you. So what do you do in those situations? Then I'll tell y'all what I do.
I'm a little straightforward when stuff like I'm a firm believer in growing apart and growing beyond and growing above and natural occurrences just kind of like shifting the dynamics of friendships. People will tell me I'm a little cutthroat, like, oh, you just can't just stop talking to a person. I'm a Scorpio. Yes, I can. So like if I don't necessarily feel that they see the harm in what they've done, or like they've hurt my feelings or done something that is just unrepairable, then I don't have a problem just bowing out respectfully and just kind of letting nature take its course. I've had people that friendships have ended, whether naturally or over some type of issue that they had, but I don't have any situations where someone was bold enough to like come to me and tell me like, hey, I have a problem with this and I don't like how you reacted to what I did or anything like that. So people tend to run from that confrontation, I guess, or kind of run from it when they know they've done wrong. But I have allowed people to come back in who have swallowed their pride or been grown enough to give an apology when they know they messed up, or can admit to their mistake and like kind of come back, and then we can like move forward from that with that recognition that, hey, something did occur, so our dynamic has shifted, but I respect you enough as a grown up to own up to your mistake or own up to what you did and be able to move forward with it, regardless of if we continue to be close friends or not. I can accept an apology and just move on from it.
What about you, Kristen? How do you handle situations where another person is just not owning their part or taking accountability, or if they're not receiving what you're saying?
I think like in situations where it's happened in the past, and maybe this is because I was younger then, but I've kind of separated myself because I feel like the stress that comes along with that, someone only seeing things their way and, not holding themselves accountable, or, just having no recollection of what happened and how it happened. Um, I don't know, being solution driven, like even in these instances, you still find yourself trying to come up with more and more solutions, right? Like
Right.
even with the person that doesn't get it, like you're still like, okay, well, this is that. And I feel like at the end of the day, you end up being just so stressed out that you have to just like, you know, cut your ways with them. And it may just be temporary. And then sometimes it may be for an extended period of time. Like right now, I'm in Georgia, and I had a situation that happened in Georgia last year during my homecoming season. And I'm just wondering how this homecoming season is going to be, because I've already told myself that if a particular person does not apologize for things that were said, then it's going to be very surface level. So I be like, I really want to see how I'm going to be on Monday, because now homecoming will be over on Monday, just to see how that situation plays out. But I'm kind of like one of those people that's like out of sight, out of mind, because I feel like my core group of friends, these are people that understand being accountable. These are people that understand conversations, hard conversations. And I feel like sometimes when you get caught up in the moment and you cannot check yourself, because I feel like you need to do it internally. Like you have to internally check yourselves. I'm not always right. Sometimes I'll lay in bed and be like, dang, that was really messed up. Like I could have did better. And then because I'm solution driven, now my mind is just going on myself. Like, girl, you could have said this and this. And I just feel like when you don't have those type of people that are actually trying to grow and become better for themselves, then they're not going to be the best that they can be in the friendship. So you may have to make that hard decision, just say bye, because maybe it was just a season.
It was that season, yes. So for me, number one, I am the poor definition of an Aquarius, and I'm not saying like science matters, but
They
each
matter.
zodiac, there are some key pointers, and I am a true Aquarius. So for me, like if there's something that you want to say, I might be very, very quiet in that moment. And it's not because I'm not taking it in. It's not because I'm ignoring you. It's more because I need to process. And I need to speak after I process. Because if I just speak right now, it's probably not going to be, it's not going to come out
Nice.
correctly.
And I'm a Gemini, Tasha, so we're kind of similar.
And yeah, except I don't have two sides. The other thing the other thing is, if it's a person that no matter what you say, they are always right, it's always going to be a one-sided conversation. So have a conversation with yourself. Because if I don't get to express how I feel, how this situation made me feel, and you don't respect that, then that's no problem. Just go have the conversation with yourself, because you're the only one that's listening to you right now.
Right.
And that's that's it. What I have learned is, if you are unavailable to come into my peace, I cannot come into your toxicity. Period. Point blank. I love on the people that love on me. In a discussion, family or friends. And I have a really sweetheart friend. She can go if she's listening, she already know I'm talking about her. She can go from 0 to 100 in 0.3 seconds. It don't even take a whole second. But if there is something, if you are a friend of hers and she wants to talk, like, she will come from the most loving place in her heart. And I appreciate that about her. Like, she'll say, like, no, I'm going to have to go ahead and talk to this person about it. And it's from a very loving place. So it's like, I think as women, especially as Black women, because we are the ones that got to have each other's back, we need to honor and understand that every message being delivered is not negative. And sometimes you have to pay attention and focus on the message and not who's bringing it to you.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Now I'm gonna shift gears for a second, because we're gonna be winding down to the end, and I do want to talk about young girls, because you guys are obviously mentors. You are a beautiful set of women that young girls could listen to. So what I want to know is two things. Number one, what do you feel you can teach a younger girl? And when I say younger, let's just think maybe 12 years old and up. Okay, because at this age, they're having so much more put in front of their faces than we did at that age. So I'm going to say 12 years old and up. What is it that you feel you can teach a young girl? And what is it that you feel you can learn from one? Because I want young girls to understand that it's not always about, you have to be taught this, you have to be taught this. There are lessons that they teach us as well. So what do you feel you can learn from a young girl? What do you feel you have to teach a young girl?
For me, I feel like the embracing your authenticity. I could think back to like myself being 12, and I was just such a quirky kid, probably just dorked out. I had my little two ponytails because I couldn't get no perm. I was just like in my own little zone, reading and like collecting rocks and just doing all these things that would have been perceived as like weird, like writing stories. Like, who's 12 and just writing all the time? Like, had somebody told me like, oh, don't worry about it, you don't gotta fit in, or like, be your authentic self, just like focus on the stuff that makes you you, I probably would have been a much happier person growing up and not feeling like I had to like be different or like different things. Like, I can remember playing with dolls and being in like high school, but having to like keep it on the low because I'm like, well, nobody else is doing this. Like, just be authentic. Like, don't be afraid to be yourself. Like, whatever makes you quirky, whatever you perceive or people perceive as weird, that's probably gonna be the thing that make you a millionaire one day. Like, own it, like live into it, lean into the things that make you unique, and don't be afraid of not fitting in, because just being the same is actually kind of whack. Like, be yourself, be your quirky, weird self, be different, and don't be afraid to stand out or be looked at it harder for it, because people pay attention to the people that are different, and it's not always hating on them. Sometimes they're envious, or sometimes they're wishing that they could go and paint some rocks or know what a quartz was, or like know all these cool things that people know that they may not know. Like, just be authentic and don't be ashamed of it.
Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and ask the second question. If you could take about 1 minute to answer this. What do you feel a young girl can teach you, or has taught you? What have you learned from the younger generation?
My goddaughter teaches me just how to look at life with a new perspective, a fresh set of eyes with no judgment. And if I don't understand something, not to look at it with a frowned up face, just to look at it and receive it, or look at it and try to see different perspectives. Just being around her and her friends, just listening to them laugh and like talk about things, even the slang that they use, just a fresh perspective on viewing the world. And I think that anybody from 12 to 19 to 20 can breathe kind of that new life into you and give you just a different way to view the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, Miss Kristen, what do you feel you can teach a young girl, and what do you feel you've been taught from one?
I think, and this is something that we have spoke about on our podcast, just giving yourself grace. I think that since we're in the era of social media, like we see so many things and we think we're supposed to have so many things at this young age, and that's not really how life works. Like some people are able to become millionaires by making YouTube videos, but everybody isn't. And because you're not, it doesn't mean that you won't get to where you should be at the time that you should be there. So like give yourself grace. Everyone has a struggle period. Even the people that, became millionaires from YouTube or wherever, everyone had some type of struggle that they had to get through. And just to understand that your journey is your journey and it's personal. So if you take everybody out the background and you just focus on yourself, your journey is personal. You'll still get to where you need to get. Give yourself grace. I always think about, Tabitha Brown saying that it took her 20 or 20 plus years to get to where she's at. And I just feel like when we speak from like maybe a biblical sense, our days are not the same days as God's days. So, for us, we think we done waited all this time and God, like I did this instantly, you know what I mean? So I know that may be a lot for somebody that's young, but if you're giving yourself grace and just know that everything doesn't come exactly when you want it, but it will come how it's supposed to come. If you can just sit in that and just wait, I think that's something that I would like to teach them. And something that I could take from somebody that's younger is probably just the openness, like Fallon said, the fresh perspective that they have on the world. There are so many young people that are doing amazing things within the society, just standing up for other people, standing up for what they believe in, helping people out. And I think that that's amazing. I think that with the help of social media, I know I spoke about it kind of negatively before, but with the help of social media, like they've been able to create amazing platforms that have been able to call, justice to people's families or anything, and let people know what's going on in the world and just standing up for one another in school. And I think that is amazing because you can do that at that age. A lot of times at this age, we're in the workplace, we can't take that on, even though we may be feeling it, it's just not something that we can take on for whatever reason. But at this young age, you kind of have nothing to lose. We always speak about reinventing yourself, that even if it doesn't work out now, you can always reinvent yourself, So I can learn that openness from them.
I love it. I love it. They are dropping all kind of Shenomenal gems, and I love it. So before we go, tell people where they can find you guys, where they can find the podcast, how can they follow you?
Yeah, but listen, we all on the social media. You can follow our personal pages. I'm on Instagram at notorious_FAL, and Kristen is Why Not Kristen. Kristen all over the TikTok. I blog. I have my own website with like writings and stuff, and that's efreneehamilton.com. And we all over the Pyro, baby. We on the website. We on the Spotify. We on the Apple Podcast. We on the Facebook. We're everywhere. And big ups to Kwame and Pyro Media family, the whole network, everybody. Like we're gang up in here. So we're out here. And follow the podcast too. The You Better Than Me podcast is on Instagram. We'll try to be more diligent about posting. Hint, hint, Kristen. Yeah, we're too.
Kristen, I gotta say, what I love is your all the darn time.
I didn't know you followed that page.
Listen, let me tell you something. I am an Aldi lover.
Okay, that is good to know.
When I saw that, I was like, Aldi darn, let me click that. I'm like, ooh. I'm gonna have to really stick to this thing. That's really cool. Now, before we go, I want you guys to answer this in 30 seconds or less. Kristen, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Who has been a phenomenal woman in your life and why? 30 seconds or less.
Okay, 30 seconds or less. I think that my grandma has been a phenomenal woman in my life. She's been around for me ever since I was a little girl. I have the nickname Toot because her nickname is Tootsie. And I feel like she's just given me this perspective on life. When I was younger, just a zest. She never really judged me. She allowed me to make my mistakes, even though I was her first grandchild. I call myself her youngest child, but she allowed me to make my mistakes. She accepted me and my church clothes and my club clothes. And now that I'm grown and I'm 40, we can just talk and have all these like good conversations. So that has been a phenomenal woman in my life.
Beautiful. Miss Fallon, who's been a phenomenal woman in your life and why?
So I'm gonna go with my mama because I love me some Bonnie Mae. Like my mama is just the most fabulous person I know. It's like everything that Letty has ever told me, I may have frowned up or been like, "What?" But now it's all come true. She is a psychic. She speaks life into us. She can prophesize what's gonna happen, and she's just dope. Like I love my mama to death, and she's phenomenal as AF.
Yes, yes. Ladies, it has been a pleasure to have you guys on my show. Thank you so much for being on She Is Shenomenal and for just being phenomenal women in your own communities, in your life, and now in your own podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you for
Um,
having us.
Yes, thank you all for joining us. We will be back next week. And as I told you guys last week, while October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's a month that I wholeheartedly celebrate as a survivor. Sister is a survivor, mom is a survivor. Obviously, I have survivor friends. So it's very important to me. But October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And next week, we will have a chat with a young lady who overcame domestic violence. So if you know someone that needs to hear her story, please join us next week while she shares her phenomenal story of being a survivor of domestic violence. Thank you guys so much for joining. Have an incredible rest of your week. See you next Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.